Let's take a look into a little bit more manipulation of the rendering, and then we will go and refine the material. Let's turn on the final rendering and let's go to the world. There we have a background. If I click on this color, I can make the background really bright or really dark. And you see when I set this darker, the whole image gets a little bit more contrast, which is good. I can also select the ground plane, go to materials, give this a material, and then we make this not rough, but reflective. Or we can even turn the reflectivity completely off or on. And there you see with this we can blur then the strength of the reflection. We can also adjust the color. So for example, it's more grayish. You see though actually the toaster stands out a little bit better. Also the contrast we could adjust. So if I go to the camera, then I go to color management. Here we have something called base contrast. If I click on this and set none, it doesn't really do much. Very low contrast. You see it's kind of grayish, very high contrast. It's the opposite. Base contrast is kind of like the medium default. Medium high contrast. Yeah, that one looks good for the moment. Okay. The red I don't really like of my KitchenAid. So if I select a KitchenAid, and you see now here inside this material shader node, I see exactly the same like here. I can click this and adjust the color a little bit via RGB, or hue, saturation, and value based on how you prefer to actually manipulate your colors. Okay, nice. Let's add a depth of field effect. So I have my camera. I select the camera. Then I go to viewport display and I say, show me the limits, and you see this plus. This plus now we can move a little bit. See, when I move my mouse close to there, a green element starts popping up. Let's say like there, and then I can go to depth of field. See also here the focus distance when I move this. That's being adjusted too. And say f-stop on about 6. Here nothing changes. Well, we don't have the depth of field effect turned on yet. So the camera, we gave the depth of field effect. Now for the render engine, we have to turn it on too. We go to the camera icon, so the render. Then we go depth of field, turn this on. If I zoom in, there you see the back getting blurred out. Also, some of that logo does. So it makes it look a little bit more done through actually a camera than just being a digital rendering. Can snap a quick photo to get a better look of how this effect actually works out. Yep, there we are. Not too bad. Okay, so let's maybe work on the material. Instead of this just being a plastic red, maybe I want to do this to be maybe looks like anodized aluminum or something like this. Before I continue, let me go here to the material and shader editor. Everything what I'm going to show you, that's I think that's maybe sometimes for people who are not familiar with it, it's very unusual. This is the node editor. Here we will create a flow chart of functions to create the material. This is maybe the most abstract element at the beginning to learn, because it's here literally you just have to memorize the building blocks, but they're very logical how they can be used. And the nice thing is there aren't that many, and they always are reused in the same way. So there's a lot of repetition that can reinforce memorizing everything. This material output, that's basically our output, and this principal DSDF, that is our material where we can specify everything from this being flat to being like metallic, being reflective and having a roughness to it and all that stuff. We also can put a sheen on it and change the color, yada, yada, yada. If I press X, it's gone. Now this whole object is black, pitch black, because this material output has nothing. Also here, you see now it says none. So let's go add and then shader and glossy. Glossy, well, it's reflective, glass, obviously for glass. Then we have diffuse for flat matte surfaces, emission for being like a light. Click glossy and then click this somewhere. We can connect the green dot to that dot. And there we are. Here we can give this a red color again. With the roughness, we can change how this looks. Very nice. Okay, so let's say here we want this to be rather rough, and now I would like to have a strong highlight on top. So we go add, shader, glossy. Here we can use the same material and 0.1. And then when I drag this one to the surface, it replaces, unfortunately, that one. So how do we do this? Well, we have to mix these two together and then put that in there. So go add, shader, mix shader, click this to there, and then I have this one and this one mixed 50-50. So that's everything of this, 50% both. This is 100% this. And then we can connect this to there. And now you see there we have the sharp highlight and also the blurriness. So we can play with these values a little bit. And if we make them both the same, it makes no sense. But yeah, so now this is a little bit more metallic, for example. And this is what the node material editor is going to be about. If we want this to be, again, be more the plastic surface look we had before, all we need to do is select this one, press X, and select this, and press X, and select this and X, go add, shader, and principled, and connect this. And away there we have our old system again. Now, Blender is hyper flexible in the way how we can create something. We can even have two different material definitions inside one material. So this principled BSDF, so our basic material, and if I want, I can even have a more refined material. So let's do this again. We go shader and glossy, and with Shift D I can make a copy, by the way. Then add shader and mix shader. Zoom in a little bit. Connect these two. This should be red. Click and drag. This should be red. And now I need the material output. Output, material, connect. So, and here's the trick now. You see this is highlighted. If I click this one, this is being used and this material is ignored. But this is all inside the same material definition. That's pretty awesome, I would say. I really like this about this program. And click this again. Very good. And something else we should cover for a basic introduction. Color management we have. This we can do later. Shadow quality. Yeah, if you go to shadows and we turn this one on, this will give us better shadow qualities. Well, but for the moment, keep this off. This may be something we rather will work with when we need it. Okay, the last thing at this point, maybe that makes sense to go into, is do a different scene configuration. We have one set of lights. Maybe I would like to have a different set of lights. See, here we have scene and collection. Right here, right click and say new. Double click and say light rig 1. New, double click light rig 2. Okay. Then we have this area light, this area light. We can actually drag this into this folder. And then I also need to move these empty. So this empty I selected, that's empty 002 and 001 is the other one, because I think empty, that's the one for the camera. Very good. If I turn this off, you see it's gone. So light rigs are, these collections are like layers or groups. Collections actually is a better name. And into light rig 2, I would like to create another different setup for lights. So I can click it. So it's active. Then Shift S, cursor to world origin, Shift A, or you can use the A command, is area light. G and Z move it up, or we use the widget. By having light rig selected, you see this area light was created right inside that collection. Then here we would like turn this on, 0.1, the strength, not too strong. Here in this case, we have a nice top light. That's good. Maybe the size we change a little bit. Maybe 1 meter, that's good. Shift D and escape. Then we move this down. Here we say 25 centimeters, so it's smaller. Here, bring this to there. I would like to rotate this one along the y-axis. I could turn on the rotation command and move this. And then you see here, minus 90 degrees. Okay. It's further down. See, this way I create a nice highlight on this edge. When I move this one to there and there, how this, here, no, this is not too bad. Okay. And I go into a top view, Shift D, move a light to there, and then I press R and Z to rotate it to there. So minus 90. I'm just trying to figure out how does stuff work. I get a highlight on there, and that's not ideal. Maybe I bring it to there. This is too strong. 0.05, a little bit weaker. This area is a tick dull. So I go to a top view by clicking on the Z icon, click this light, Shift D, move it to here, R and Z, and rotate it. No. So maybe there. So further away. So I have a little bit of a gray line here. Otherwise, everything gets way too over illuminated. Not sure about this light anymore. I make this really soft, so I get a little bit on it. What about my big top light? There, okay. And now if I click render, let's see what happens. So, if you see, where do we see reflections there when we don't see it there? And that's normal, because this actually turns visibility on off. But you see these flags here? This is also for show up during rendering. Don't show up even in my 3D viewport anymore. So these are like render visibility flags. I can turn off the visibility of each kind of like lighting situation. And then when I want to see this, I turn this camera on and then I hit render. And then my collection with the KitchenAid will be rendered, illuminated by the elements inside LightRig 2. So I go to 2 and then switch this way and hit render. One second. There. Now we have that other setup. Okay. That basically concludes everything what I wanted to introduce you to this week for rendering in Blender. Some basic materials, basic camera manipulations, and basic materials adjustments. And then we will go more into depth with the next stuff. The homework will also be obviously recreating this setup as close as possible, and then have a rendering of this view and a rendering of this view done and saved, so I can take a look at it at school.